the the 26th? No, the 24th of August. And this is the Open Space and Ecology Committee meeting.
Can I just confirm that you're seeing my screen in the, you're not seeing the like presenter or anything like that, right?
We're seeing the whole frame with the, all the
just the slides?
No, we see the PowerPoint menu bar at the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the googly box.
Hang on, that's what I was not wanting to do. Let's try this again. Here we go. How about now?
Yes, looks
Okay.
perfect.
Great, and I see Glenn has arrived, so I am letting her in, and I see we also have an attendee, Anthony Walker.
Greetings, everyone. All right, this meeting, I'm going to go ahead and read the Brown Act. This meeting is compliant with the Ralph M. Brown Act as amended by the California Assembly Bill number 361, effective September 16th, 2021, providing for a public health emergency exception to the standard teleconferencing rules required by the Brown Act. The purpose of this is to provide a safe environment for the public, staff, and committee meetings. While allowing for public participation, the public may address the committee using exclusively remote public comment options. The committee may take action on any item listed in the agenda. Public meeting videos. Members of the public may view the Open Space and Ecology meeting by logging into the Zoom meeting listed below. Open Space and Ecology Committee meetings can also be viewed live and or on demand via the city's YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/BrisbaneCA, or on Comcast Channel 27. Archive videos can be replayed on the city's website, brisbaneca.org/meetings. To address the committee, the Open Space and Ecology Committee, OSEC, meeting will be an exclusively virtual meeting. The OSEC agenda materials may be viewed online at brisbaneca.org, or at least 24 hours prior to a special meeting and at least 72 hours prior to a regular meeting. Meeting participants are encouraged to submit public comment in writing in advance of the meeting. Aside from commenting in the Zoom meeting, the following email and text lines will also be monitored during the meeting, and public comments received will be read into the record during oral communications or during an item. Email atherton@brisbaneca.org to join the meeting, brisbaneca.org/zoom-OSEC. Meeting ID number 97642950160, passcode 544511, call-in number 669-900-9128. If you require special assistance to participate in this meeting, please contact Adrian Etherton at aetherton@brisbaneca.org or 415-508-2118. Notification in advance of the meeting will enable the city to make reasonable arrangements to ensure accessibility to this meeting. I will now call this meeting to order. I'd like to do the roll call at this juncture. We got Glenn Fieldman.
Glenn, you're muted.
Glenn,
you're
Here I am.
Aaron Becker.
I'm here.
Jason Noonan.
Here.
Michelle Salmon.
here.
Mary Roger.
Here.
And of course, Shauna Calmes. Okay, roll has
You didn't call Barbara, did you?
no, we're missing Barbara Evil currently. Like to adopt the agenda for this evening.
I move that we adopt the agenda for this evening.
A second.
Roll call vote.
Roll call now. Aaron Becker,
Yes.
Glenn Fieldman,
Yes.
Michelle Salmon,
Yes.
Mary Rogers,
Yes.
Anja Kalmes, aye.
Jason?
Oh,
Yeah.
Jason Noonan. Sorry. The meeting has been adopted. Are there any announcements to be made?
I just want to announce that we have the garden show this Saturday at the community center from 11, I guess 11 till, I'm not sure what time. Either join or show up.
Yeah, 11 o'clock is when you can submit your plants or flowers or vegetables or bouquets or anything plant related. Also preserves that you've made from your garden produce. And at 1 o'clock, it will be open to the public, and there'll be ribbons and prizes donated by the, not the city council, the
Park and
business
Rec.
group. Yeah, no,
Chamber of Commerce.
the Chamber
Brisbane
of
Chamber
Commerce.
of Commerce.
Yes, yes. Gift cards. So that's exciting.
And the other announcement I have is Sunday, September 11th, we have the San Bruno Mountain Watch pancake breakfast and Mission Blue Nursery plant sale. It starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. Pancakes will be served from 9 until noon, unless we run out. and the plant sale will go until 2. So, and it's at the Mission Blue Nursery site, which is behind the Brisbane Firehouse. Please, everyone come. It's going to be amazing this year. Homemade blackberry syrup.
Michelle,
Invasive.
would you put me on your list if you need labor? Okay, just reach
I'm
out.
putting you on my list right now, Jason, because we need labor, and I would love to have you volunteer. Thank you very much. I just got off a meeting and we're a couple of people short. I'd love to have you. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else want to volunteer? Okay. Onward and upward.
Do we get free pancakes?
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Wow, I see how she is.
Yeah. And we'll give you free syrup on them too if you volunteer.
All right. Oral communications. Do we have anything? Adrian?
I have not received anything aside from the items that we have on our new business to discuss. I see we have one member of the public in the audience, but they have not raised their hand. So I think we're good.
All right. Well then, moving forward, I'd like to approve the minutes from last session. Are there any changes that anybody wants to make? Michelle?
Yes, in announcements, it said the screening of the Edge of the Wild was on 8/28, but it's on 8/26, Friday, 8/26, but it's sold out. So, but can we correct the minutes to say 8/26 instead of 8/28? That was the only change I had that I saw.
Apologies for that. Doing that right now.
Any other corrections? All right, well, then I'd like to
I
have the
move that
minutes.
we approve the minutes.
Second,
All right, the minutes are approved.
Nope, roll call vote.
Roll call. Erin Becker,
Yes.
Glenn Fieldman,
Yes.
Jason Noonan,
yes.
Michelle Salmon,
Yes.
Mary Rogers,
Yes.
Anja Kalmes, yes. Minutes are approved. All right. I guess we are going on to some new business. All right, turn that over to Adrian.
I am actually going to turn it over to Rachel.
Yay, Rachel.
And Rachel, we didn't talk through how you want to do the slide. So I guess for now, just tell me when to advance, and I'll run it unless you want to do something different.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Hi, everyone. You probably know that my main project that I've been supporting as a sustainability intern with the city this summer has been the building efficiency program. Now would mark the end of my official internship. I am going to stay on as a part-time employee, but to sort of mark the end of my internship, we're doing And now that we are 3 months past the reporting deadline for the building efficiency program, we wanted to offer a fuller update. So Adrian, if you could go to the next slide. So part of the ordinance is a public data disclosure piece. So we, Bob Sage developed this really great map tool that is publicly available on the city website at the URL listed above. It's a fully interactive map tool, so I encourage you all to take a look at it if you're interested. You can click through and see which buildings are, we have achieved 75% compliance with our building stock. And again, this is large buildings over 10,000 square feet. You can also click through and see which buildings are currently what we would consider high performing, really efficient buildings with an Energy Star score of 80 or above. And you, on the left-hand side, you can also see some summary statistics about how much total water usage and electricity usage and natural gas usage is included in this portfolio. Next slide, Adrian. Okay, so I also prepared just some figures to show you, give you an idea of what the work entailed for this. Again, this was my primary job responsibility. I downloaded these compliance reports that building managers and owners submitted many times, multiple times per week and sometimes multiple times per day. These figures here show just the communication piece that I had with building owners and property managers. So 300 plus outgoing emails only, and 70 plus phone calls. And again, this is reflective of just my work. It's not reflective of Adrian's. And it, again, is also only the work that has happened since May 2022. Also notably, we mailed 14 notices of violation. Brisbane is kind of on the forefront of this. Adrian and I are in a working group with other Bay Area cities who have benchmarking programs, and we're only in our second year of compliance with the program, and this is the first year that we've ever sent out notices of violation. So just an indicator of that the city is taking this really seriously. Again, just to illustrate that this program has taken a lot of work and continues to unfold, and we continue to prepare for the next phase. Over the course of my internship, we also worked on improving overall the compliance process and preparing for the next stage of the program. So in these first 2 years, all that building owners have been required to do is just submit their energy and water data. And starting next year for commercial and industrial buildings, they will be required to demonstrate performance metrics, or if they aren't able to do so, then conduct an audit. And that's all for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel.
Go ahead, Mary.
I was just wondering, the buildings that were in violation, are there any penalties, or if not, do we plan on implementing some type of penalties?
Yes, so the notices of violation that we mailed have a correction period of 30 days. And if the buildings do not submit their report within 30 days, they will be issued a fine.
Oh, good. Thank you. Great job.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to commend Rachel on her excellent work this internship. It has been She's done a wonderful job working with the building owners and really managing the program in a way that really, she really kind of took it and ran with it, really had ownership over the program, and I think has really helped us to improve the program. I'm really excited that we are going to get to keep her on part-time as we move into the school year. I think that's going to be really great for us in terms of kind of getting ready for the beyond benchmarking phase next year and having some continuity with the building owners as we get them ready for that stage.
Excellent. Who is next? Glenn, Michelle? Michelle? Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Rachel. And also, I'm really glad you're staying with us for a while. And thanks for coming and helping with the arts and crafts. That was great. So I appreciate your dedication very much.
Thanks,
Glenn?
Michelle. I'm happy to be staying.
So I'll second what Michelle said, but I just wondered if we had been doing this long enough to get any feeling. Is it going easier? Have the modifications that have been made it easier for businesses to comply? Is it going more smoothly now?
So this is the second year for many people who are submitting. I would say overall it is going smoother. Additionally, an initial roadblock is establishing contacts for the first time. So sort of understanding who within the business is going to be responsible for their reporting. So I think a lot of that in these first 2 years has been taken care of and will go much more smoothly. There are also some automated tools that business owners can use to upload their data automatically. And that does have sort of an initial startup cost. But once they then set up that tool, it should help them report more easily going forward.
Great. Thank you.
I will say one thing with the owner contacts that has been, I know something that Rachel has had to deal with is just a lot of businesses having a lot of turnover. So even those that we did have successful contact with last year, there's been a lot of turnover at those companies or with the consultant. So, we think we had hoped that, year 2 would be smoother. And I think it's, we're learning that even if we've made successful contact with a business in the past, it may not mean that, smooth sailing forever after that. There's the turnover issue that we're going to continue to deal with most likely.
That makes sense. Thank you.
If you do have a chance, I highly encourage you to go check out the map on the website, pop it out into a full screen. You can see the data for each individual building if you click on the points, and Bob put that together for us. We were really pleased with how it came together. So kudos to Bob as well, flexing his new GIS skills, putting together the dashboard.
Yes. That's really encouraging.
All right. Excellent. I guess we now move on to staff updates. Oh, no, we're still at new business.
Oh, we've got several new business items tonight.
Sorry.
So this one, I will go ahead and report, and sorry, let me find, I've got so many things up on the screen. I've got to find my notes for this one. Oh shoot, where'd they go? All right, well, I don't have there it is. So the CAP subcommittee, in advance of our last meeting, received public comment from Anja Miller that the subcommittee decided would be best dealt with by sharing with this group and letting you all have a public conversation on it. So the comment was from Anja Miller, sent on Friday, August 5th, and said, this is a request that your subcommittee and then OSEC communicate with the city council and staff what should be the immediate action of the city now towards your climate goals. Install the long planned solar panels on the library roof. Anja Miller for Krevel. That's the comment. Glenn?
So I would like to know, do we know how much this would cost? And Adrian and I talked briefly about this because I've been nagging her on behalf of a friend of mine who has an electric car about the non-functioning charger at Brisbane Village. And it sounds like we're going to have to cough up some money to get it fixed or even replace it. It's been out of commission now for 2 months. And I'm guessing that the charger is more important in terms of emissions reduction, not getting people all discouraged that they can't charge their electric car. So I'm just wondering, do we know how much solar panels on the library would cost? How might that compare with the cost of repairing the charger, or even worse, replacing it? Do we have any ideas about that?
Do you want me to go ahead and respond to that now, or I see we have another hand from Aaron?
Yeah, respond. That would be good.
Okay. I don't know exactly the cost. We have not, gone out to receive quotes or anything of that sort for this facility. It is, of course, a reasonably substantial expected project cost to do something like this. I do have a separate update about the EV charger, which I can share later. But I think it is important to put it in the context of what are all of the city's priorities and where does this fall? The new library is fossil fuel free. There is no natural gas connection. And we have Peninsula Clean Energy, 100% clean energy for all of our city facilities. So in my mind, this would not be a high priority project because it's not really going to have any material impact on our emissions. It's something that we may want to do for resiliency, for demonstration, something like that, but it's not necessarily going to have a true emissions reduction. And we do have a lot of other projects that we'd like to do that have emissions reduction potential, like EV chargers and the like. So we do have a project in the works with Peninsula Clean Energy to put solar panels on Mission Blue Center. That is part of a bulk purchasing program that they were coordinating, and our expectation is that this is a pilot program for them, and there may be opportunities in future iterations of this for additional, municipal facilities to participate in bulk purchasing programs through PCE. We talked with them when they were kind of fielding projects to participate in the pilot, and the library had barely been open. When this project started, I don't even know if the library had been open for a couple of months at that point in time. You really want to have at least a year of operation before you would, try to size a solar system anyhow. So we are, really just barely getting even to that point to really be able to figure out how we would size the system anyway.
And that Mission Blue was put in the mix with PCE, and they selected it because it's a shelter for emergency response. And we were hoping that when they do the RFP, that it might be affordable to have a battery backup there and have that be able to operate for X number of days. What was it, 72 hours? If it didn't have power. So for a whole different reason, that was a project that we proposed and PCE is looking into.
So would
I know Erin had her hand raised, but it's down now. Michelle's hand is next, I think.
Yeah, this is a tough situation because it was, promised, quote unquote, that the library would have solar, and it's very visible. So, like you said, Adrian, the God, I hate using the term, the optics of it. Are right in your face because everybody looks down on the library and there are these big white roofs with no solar panels. And it's a tough one because Anja has been, definitely on this from the very beginning. And the library went, over budget because of the the delays with the contractor. Otherwise it would have been, open a lot sooner, and then COVID. So I don't know whether we can I understand that there are higher priorities, but I think that this is also pretty important. And if there's any way that maybe we can do some kind of, Friends of the Library fundraising for solar panels, or, get involved with sun shares and using it as a demonstration, or if there's any way that we're able to accomplish this sooner rather than later, I think it would set a really good example, especially if we could then use the excess energy, because we have a lot of roof space there, to perhaps share energy with nearby businesses or facilities. I don't know if that's a possibility or not. No.
That's not something that you can legally do at this point in time without a lot of hurdles to jump through to set up a community microgrid.
Yeah, I was just thinking of supplying energy to like the Eagles next door, since it's a nonprofit, not-for-profit, or it's, I guess, a mutual benefit corporation. But anyway, just I think that we shouldn't ignore this request. I think that we should, at least think about different options that we might be able to do. It's the visibility of it is important, and it's used by the community. It's open 7 days a week now. And I understand it's a much more efficient building than any of the others that we have. But we can't just say, no, we're not going to. We need to make some future plans for doing it, I think. That's just how I feel. I understand the constraints. I really do.
There be any value in maybe an article? I mean, this is going a different direction, but an article in the Star explaining where we're getting the energy and the fact that it doesn't change our greenhouse gas emissions at all.
Yes, I think that would be a very good thing to have it as an article either in the Star or in the Brisbane Blast, and explain a little bit about how we need a bit of a service record before we can determine what the solar array should be in order to supply the building. Also explain that we can't do a microgrid at this time to supply energy to other buildings. I mean, just lay out the facts. And so that people stop thinking about, it doesn't have solar panels, and start thinking about, how can we, best use our resources to energize the most number of places? It's just like it took a really long time to break the myth that, the Ecology trucks actually do sort the material when they dump it. Somebody just last weekend said, well, it all goes down the same hole. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Let me show you the video. So,
Scavenger.
Yeah, myth busting would be a really good one on this, I think. And Adrian, I mean, you know the facts involved, so.
Mary, I think you're up next.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm assuming that we will send her a response, right, to her concern. I mean, we're not saying it's not a priority. It's just a lower priority at this point in time until we have funding for it, right? But like you said, there's plenty other projects that would benefit more so from solar panels. So I guess the question is, well, do we owe her? I mean, do we, as the OSEC committee, will we provide her a response? Or, I don't know, just asking.
I don't know that that's necessarily protocol for a
it's not
comment submitted. I think this kind of is the response in a way.
Okay.
I don't know, Karen, if you want to correct me on that.
Well, considering that her husband was instrumental in founding OSEC, and pretty much forced me to be on OSEC at the beginning, I think the courtesy of a direct response would be really, really nice. And I think it's something that we could do even if it's not protocol.
I forgot, what was the form of the inquiry? Was it she wrote a letter, email?
It was an email for CAP subcommittee. It ostensibly was submitted as a public comment from the way it was addressed and worded.
So then an email response is. Maybe it should be composed with the CAP subcommittee and even sent from staff, but, you know, signed by. In a way.
Can I ask my question?
Oh.
So I guess Adrian said that the Mission Blue Center is going to be an emergency center. That's great for all the Ridge people, but wouldn't it be a really good thing to have a battery backup down here in central Brisbane where people can charge their phone in an emergency? And wouldn't that also be a really nice function for the library, you know, as a really central meeting place? Wouldn't that be really beneficial to have for central Brisbane?
So I think you're getting outside of the scope of what we can answer. I think this was an emergency operations
Okay.
decision making.
Okay.
The Mission Blue is meant for all of Brisbane.
Can I weigh in? Yeah.
But I wasn't quite done. Yeah, so it's kind of outside of our scope to be, you know, deciding where the shelters are. I don't have a lot of knowledge about how that was done, but it was, you know, outside of your staff and this committee.
Okay. I just was throwing that there. I don't go up to the Brisbane. I don't go up to the Ridge. I don't go up to the, I never go up there.
Yeah, I think it would be like in the case of an emergency that was designated as a shelter. Maybe it's because it has a kitchen and a certain amount of space and a certain amount of parking. I'm not really sure, but you know, it might be somewhere you would go if it was available and was
cool.
Yeah.
Fun.
First, I think Shauna's idea is a good one. When and if we have the money, I don't think it would hurt to have 2 places in the city where people could go. But Mission Blue is far bigger and it does have a kitchen, and that could be pretty important in the case of an emergency like an earthquake where nobody can cook. So I think that's a kind of later thing, but I'm not at all opposed to the idea of using the library that way. If we have money to do solar panels plus battery backup, I think it's great. As far as responding to Anja, the history that Michelle mentioned is kind of important. I think we should respond to her in an email, but I would put bigger emissions reductions are possible elsewhere, front and center, because I think that is what she and Ray would care about the most. My 2 cents.
Fun. Jason?
Sure. Essentially second exactly what Glenn just said. You know, we should respond directly, say thank you for the feedback. We're on your side. Budget ran over. It's on our radar. We'll do it as soon as we can. Thank you. But bigger emissions, bigger savings are available elsewhere, but we're going to come back to this. Thank you. I think we're wringing our hands a little too much about this.
There is a question. I can read it if you want, from a member of the public, I believe.
Yeah, go ahead, Shauna.
It says, this is from Anthony Walker, and it says, I agree with Mrs. Miller's comment. I have a 6.k kilowatt array plus 27 kilowatts of battery storage at home, and the savings are well worth it. The combination could make the library an ideal central gathering place in blackouts and emergencies. So, and a second comment is that they finance their system. We finance their system and pay $138 a month for the panels and $100 a month for the storage. It's really not that big of an expense. Does anybody want to respond to that?
I guess my only thing that I could really respond to that is, commercial systems and residential systems are generally at different scales. And I think that's just something that, it's not always a direct translation. Some of the things that are available to residents aren't necessarily available commercially and vice versa. And, I know that there's been a lot of news about the Inflation Reduction Act and new incentives that are coming. So I think I'd like to also see how that shakes out and what kind of financial benefits we might be able to get from that.
Agreed. I think Erin was next.
So I've kind of a two-part comment. I totally agree that I think it would be really handy for the library to have a system where in emergencies people could go power their, whatever. And so I think the library have solar and a battery is not a bad idea at all. I do understand that it might not be a priority right now. I would like to point out that Anja or Ms. Miller asked us to bring this to council. We just effectively made the decision to not bring it to council. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that that's what we were doing. That's it.
I think I'm next. Two things. One, I do think we should bring it to council and let council make that decision. And we can, craft whatever recommendation we want. But the other thing I think I'd like us to consider is the importance of the library as a central gathering place. And it's not just about, an earthquake or, an emergency, but one of the things that's important is as a cooling center for people when we have high heat. And also when we do have a power outage during the day due to high heat. We have a lot of seniors in Brisbane, and it's not going to be so easy to truck them up to the Mission Blue Center. And the Mission Blue Center does not, I don't know that it has air conditioning. The library does have brand new, air conditioning. And so it could be used as an emergency center and a cooling center and a cooling facility during high heat days and bad air days. And there's a lot of space and there is a kitchen there. So I think that alone would warrant consideration as there is no other large indoor gathering space at this time in central Brisbane that's more accessible to the senior center. It's actually, kind of like light walking distance from the senior housing. So I do think that we should really consider that and ask the council to consider, going ahead and applying the solar panels that were promised on the library so that it can function in those ways. I know it's a partnership with San Mateo County Library, but we should be able to at least initiate working on that, even if it's, a year or two out, 3 years out, and we have other fish to fry in the meanwhile. But I do think it's important because we're going to have more and more days where people need a cooling center, and there is no cooling center in Brisbane where people can go. There's no shopping mall that they can go to. And if we have a power outage, they definitely need a cooling center. Okay, that's it.
Any other comments or questions or feedback? Guess we'll move on.
Michelle, your hand is up. Oh, it's down now.
Madam Chair.
Sorry. Is there any other? This was brought from last week with brought on the matter discussion of amended waste discharge requirements. I've read this thing and I have no idea what this is talking about because I wasn't here when the original problems were submitted. I'm depending on staff to sort of bring us up to speed with this.
I don't I don't know that I can say I know anything about this either. This is a letter to the Regional Water Quality Control Board. It's not really something that I have any kind of background in.
I have no background in this whatsoever, so I have no comment. I read it and I don't understand it.
Glenn, do you want to shine some light on this, Glenn?
Yeah, I can, and I imagine you can too. So this is about the Baylands essentially, and what Dana Dilworth, the author of the comment, which I thought was very good, very temperate and very thorough, is saying is that the plans for monitoring the condition of the Baylands are fragmented. That the plan that the Department of Toxic Substances Control has put out only covers part of the Baylands, and that it's not adequate, and that they haven't adequately considered sea level rise. And for those of you who weren't on the committee a few years ago, we talked about the Baylands until we were blue in the face. And long story short, there's a lot of crud out there, which developers want to build on top of. And the question is, will the site be adequately remediated before that happens? Has the potential of sea level rise to disrupt the buried substances been adequately dealt with? Do we know enough to allow development to take place? And those are the questions that Dana is asking. And I think it's a good set of comments. And we might want to, I don't know, we could endorse her comments and, send an email to the Water Board and the Toxic Substances Control Board and say, yes, we agree that more studies should be done. That's my take. I don't know. Michelle, what about you?
That summed it up very nicely, Glenn. There's serious concerns, and especially with Kinder Morgan, the quality of water in that area is really degenerated, and it goes directly into the bay. And I don't feel like DTSC and the Regional Water Quality Board are appropriately addressing some of this. So it wouldn't hurt to add our voice to it and ask, and instead of saying, you need to do this, we could say, so how are you addressing all of this and to the satisfaction of the public? Because I don't feel like it is being addressed as well as it could be. So I agree with Glenn. I know it's a very long and confusing letter, but I mean, come on, the draft EIR was 6,000 pages. So, this was only 2 pages, not bad considering,
Well, things don't always get easier to understand when you abbreviate them, but I thought it was a pretty well-written letter that laid out concerns in a pretty clear way and called out the absence of a public oversight component. So I move that we endorse it. Maybe send
I second that.
Does anybody else feel like they have the expertise or to endorse this? I just think it's so out of my wheelhouse that I can't make any kind of viable decision about this. I don't know anything about any of these subjects. And while it's a real well-written letter, I don't have any personal experience with any of this. So I don't know how I can possibly personally endorse something that I have so little interest or so little information about.
Erin's hand is up.
Yes.
And she's on mute.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. I probably wouldn't have said anything except that I am in exactly the same boat as Shauna. So it was extremely hard for me to follow the letter. I read it 3 times, and what Glenn explained was extremely helpful. And so now I'm going to have to read the letter again and follow that. So therefore, I would actually recommend that rather than just endorsing the letter, we do write some sort of cover that as Michelle said, succinctly says, what are you doing about, what are you doing about, what are you doing about? We endorse this letter so that, you know, like everywhere else, people have turned over. The people dealing with this now might not be the same people who know all of the history, and the little nuggets in Dana's letter might slip through the cracks.
I would agree with that, Aaron, and maybe not necessarily endorse the letter, but say, what are you doing about this? What are you doing about this? What are you doing about this? How are you responding to this? Because we want to know.
That's good. Jason, do you have any comments about the letter?
Yeah, I think it's a fusion of what Aaron and Michelle just said. I don't think we're actually endorsing it because so many of us don't really understand it, but say, yes, we agree, we'd like answers for this, and a cover letter saying this should be looked into. These are serious concerns. But to endorse it implies we understand it completely, and at least half of us don't understand it.
I'm jumping in. We could reference it rather than endorse it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So do you want to change your motion, Glenn?
Yes, I move that we write a letter raising some of the questions that Dana raises in her letter. I'm sure she won't mind if we extract from her letter some of the relevant questions and send it off.
Well, I think you'd have to draft a letter and then bring it back to the committee. You haven't agendized, taking an action.
Okay. So we agendize it for next meeting?
Yes, assuming someone writes the letter and Ari gets it to us to circulate for the meeting.
Glenn, you're the most knowledgeable about this, and I would love it if you would take that on.
All right.
Because you understand this even way better than I do.
I don't know about that. I just, I read this and she says, you haven't talked about this. And I thought, no, you haven't talked about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Where's the community oversight? What about Kinder Morgan? I think those things are comprehensible to all of us. And I am no chemist, I assure you. Yeah. But I will take a crack at drafting.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
Only going to get worse with the high-speed rail involved. So thank you, Glenn.
Okay. Well, I think we have an action item for our next meeting.
And
we can go on
can I backtrack just a little? Did we make a decision or take an action on what we're going to do about Anja's request? It's sort of, we ended the discussion, but we didn't take any action on it.
I understood that the CAP subcommittee was supposed to draft a response to Anja.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just wanted to be clear on what we were going to do.
We're going to recommend a letter to encourage a federal climate emergency declaration. So something we sent to council for, and does anybody?
Glenn, do you want to introduce this or?
Well, we sort of talked about this at the last meeting. I hope I wasn't supposed to write something. If I was, I haven't done it, and I apologize. The idea here is that the city council has already passed a climate emergency declaration for Brisbane. Biden is still being encouraged to declare a climate emergency because despite the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, which is very good news, that's a spending bill. It doesn't prohibit any pipelines from being built. It doesn't stop leasing. And in fact, there are some poison pills in the Inflation Reduction Act that do foster the opening of new oil leases and the construction of new pipelines. These features were put in place to please Joe Manchin, basically. So environmentalists are still encouraging the president to declare a climate emergency because with the, if we are to believe the Center on Biological Diversity, and Aaron, did you ever get an answer from them?
I did not. I was actually waiting for Barbara to respond because I thought everyone was going to say, yes, the letter's good. And then eventually I will admit that I sent it anyway. And I got an out of office reply from one person, nothing else. So as soon as I get that, I will forward on the response.
Okay. So the Center for Biological Diversity, and we discussed this at the last meeting, says there are a lot of additional things that Biden can do under the climate emergency umbrella. And because the Inflation Reduction Act is not, it's a big deal, and I'm personally very glad to see it. And it's going to set loose a lot of money to do things like maybe put solar panels on libraries. It does bad things at the same time it does good things. Well, the idea of climate activists is that with a climate emergency declaration, Biden could prohibit some of those bad things. Now, the question of whether he would do that is another thing. But putting pressure on him to declare a climate emergency might help move that process along. And I was just thinking when I suggested this, I've written him my own letter saying, please declare a climate emergency, but it might be helpful if organizations like city councils also asked him to do it. So is that the background that you wanted, Adrian? Have I said what I should have said?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I'm not sure if it was really fully explained that the email that Aaron sent was to the Center for Biological Diversity, which drafted a report prior to the Inflation Reduction Act about all of the things that a federal climate emergency declaration could accomplish. And in light of the Inflation Reduction Act passing, we were asking the question of, what parts of their recommendation are still relevant, what could help nullify some of those poison pills in the bill, and really just kind of finding that area where the IRA didn't address that the federal climate emergency could still address, so that the letter was, I think a bit more comprehensive and perhaps persuasive in light of, the widespread news of, hey, this is the biggest climate bill ever. There might be some concerns or folks who say, okay, well, we're good. We don't need to do a climate emergency anymore. So that's kind of where we're hoping to get more from the group that drafted that original report, to see if they are kind of looking at what that delta is now between the climate emergency and the bill that's already passed.
Yeah.
Aaron?
I want to throw in my personal opinion, which is that trying to attack those poison pills, as much as we hate them, makes everything a little harder, because that, effectively is the law. But I feel like what the Biden administration can do with an executive order and a climate emergency declaration is change the priorities of how they're doing and regulating things to make the manufacturing scale up that's necessary in order to have all of our clean energy solutions come online faster. So, I don't advocate for anything that's going to end up in the courts and that is going to have the Supreme Court knock any part of this down and put it in jeopardy. I want to advocate for Biden, getting the Department of Defense logistics train on board. I want to advocate for, having the green energy factories, move to the top of the pile in the regulator lists, green energy factories, whatever. So I would like to advocate for those things, but I would also like to wait for the Center for Biological Diversity folks to weigh in and see what they say.
Sounds reasonable.
Sounds good to me.
So maybe we should punt this a little bit down the road till we hear back from them. And
actually, I think we had put this on the agenda to make sure that there was nothing from the OSEC committee that, we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to weigh in before we draft something and bring it back to you guys. So if you guys have anything that are your, personal pet issues or things you'd like to see or see in or not in the letter, it's a good time to weigh in now or soon.
Does
I
anybody
think
have
we-
anything?
I just want to say, I think we definitely have a climate emergency. So let's get on with it. That's it. I don't know where to start.
Fun.
I don't think we know exactly how, if Biden were to declare a climate emergency, how he would use it. I think your point, Aaron, is well taken, that to go directly after some of the poison pills, and boy, I sure want to, but that might not be the best path. But what could be done with the climate emergency declaration, according to the Center on Biological Diversity, originally when they put out this call in the summer before the Inflation Reduction Act had passed, was a huge long list of stuff. And if he could even do some of it, it would move things further along than they are now. And I think Adrian was absolutely right in saying, you know, we don't want to risk people relaxing and saying, oh, the Inflation Reduction Act passed, and therefore our job is done and we can go back to, I don't know, watching cat videos on social media and we can quit worrying about the climate emergency. So I don't think we need to get all that specific in our letter. I think, you know, we should mention a couple of example type things of that could be done. I think Biden is savvy enough not to want something that's going to end up before the Supreme Court. So he would be probably selective about how he used an emergency declaration if he were to declare one. And you know, we leave it at that. Not that he's going to listen to us about exactly what we think he should do, but we just want to give a couple of examples to make our case. I think that's how we should craft it.
So I'm hearing support for the CAP subcommittee continuing to work on this and develop the letter based on what we hear back from the Center for Biological Diversity. And then we would bring a letter back to the subcommittee, to the full OSEC for approval at a later date.
That's what I think too.
I think that sounds right. Aaron, would you mind bugging them a little bit? Since you wrote the initial email. You're muted.
You're still muted.
I was looking at something. The out of office, I think, said the woman that I wrote to got back on Monday.
Oh, okay.
So
maybe we'll get an answer.
But I sent it to 2 people and haven't heard anything. So I don't mind, you know, hitting send again.
Cool.
Thank you. Guess we're up to staff update.
Sorry, getting mine pulled up here. Unless Karen, you want to go first?
Go ahead, I don't have any.
Okay, so I don't have as many, but I have a few. The first is that hopefully you all have gotten communications from our city clerk, Ingrid Padilla, and our IT staff about setting up your city emails. If you are having any trouble with that, please make sure to reach out to them to get set up. We will be transitioning to using those emails for all our communications to you going forward. So be sure to check them regularly and follow up with us through that method to the best of your ability. Iffy hands. Jason?
Yeah. Are you going to, just so we don't lose touch with each other, are you going to set a friendly deadline? Like, I need everybody to be on city email by a certain date, or how do you want to handle that, just so we don't, there's a period that we're not half in, half out, just asking.
My understanding was that the clerk had already set that date and we are past it at this point, but I didn't actually see what was sent to you. So My understanding was that you should have migrated by now, and we would be using this committee reminder to say, here's your reminder, we're going forward with that at this juncture. Is that,
So you
correct me if I'm wrong or you didn't receive that information. I didn't quite get.
That's
I don't remember the deadline. I did set mine up, but I mean, are you going to, at some point, are you and Karen going to only send information to the city one? Or are you going to keep sending to our home one?
No.
As of now, that was the idea.
there was no deadline on that original one. It was just like, this is what's happening. And then I immediately responded to her and said, do I have to do this? Because I don't remember ever this being discussed. And she said, yeah, we have to do this. And then, but I haven't gotten, but you know, I have other things, other priorities actually. I just want to say that I don't really appreciate how it was rolled out at all. I think it wasn't clear and it wasn't timely. And that's my opinion. Michelle?
So I stepped up to the plate and I went to City Hall and I made an appointment and their technician did magic and it works for me, but it was a little bit of a challenge because he had to go in and change my password from the temporary password. So because I couldn't do it myself because it wasn't enabled. So there's still some bugs in the system and the email did not have a cutover date. And I think it would be really beneficial for the entire group to have an overlap period where you get both notifications and then you wean us off of our regular email and then we go on to just getting the city email so that nothing critical goes by the wayside. It is kind of weird. And then I also got my city, when you go to City Hall, you will also get your business cards. And the email on the business card doesn't really match the email that I was set up with. So I don't really understand that. Because the business card says OSEC-salmon@brisbaneca.org, but that's not the email that was set up for me. So I'm really confused about that. So if there's any enlightenment on that, that would be good.
What was the email you were set up with?
I think it was my name or something. I can't tell you right off the top of my head, Karen, because, but it's not this email. I can go look for it if you want.
So,
but
well, we started with Complete Streets and originally, I think our IT department struggled with it and they gave them just a name email, but the intent was to differentiate committees with the committee title. So I thought that was supposed to be, correct email was the OSEC salmon, however, you know.
okay, so I think
We may need more time.
yeah, it's not quite there yet. And like I haven't gotten any emails except for the original one. So
Yeah, we didn't want to start using it until we knew everyone was using it.
right. So
I think Glenn has a question.
Yeah, why do we have to do this?
That's what I
You
asked.
got to ask them. It had nothing to do with us. We said the same thing, like it's going to be difficult, and we were told that IT and the city manager department would communicate with you guys about it.
Erin?
So I just logged into my account and sent myself a message and my email is OSEC- and then it ends in brisbaneca.org. So it does differentiate by committee. As a US government representative, I totally understand why they want people who are representing the city in some way to have city email addresses and use those email addresses for this business and not be using our personal email addresses. And further, if stuff goes on, if God forbid any of us ever did anything that was construed as a violation of a law or rule, we would rather have all of that be in a city-owned email than in our private one. So it's a big pain. I just learned that I can forward all the email from my city address to my personal address, which
Okay.
will tell me when there's an email, and then I'll go log into that system and reply back from the city address. But you can get that notification in terms of a forward. I will also admit I don't really like the surprise factor of the rollout, but I'm not totally against having this email.
Yeah,
I think Mary was the next one.
Oh, I just looked up Ingrid's email that I got at the beginning of August about the program. And so the city provided us a city email, which is osec-rogers@brisbaneca.org. But when you go into Outlook, you log in with your name, mrogers@ci.brisbane.ca.us, which is a bit confusing.
yeah. I was just gonna say that. I looked it up just now.
Yeah.
Mine's exactly like Mary's.
I haven't
do.
tried. I mean, I text Ingrid for the temporary password, but I find it odd that you can't change the password on your own. You have to have someone do it for you. So that password is not.
Well, it's a bug. They're
scared.
fixing that. They're fixing
So,
that.
Anyway,
But I highly recommend that you go just call Ingrid, make an appointment, and have the tech guy do it for you.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And Aaron, send me instructions how to forward it to my email. So I know if Adrian's sending me an email or somebody is, because I checked it for the first couple of days and then I sort of slacked off because nobody sent me anything. So
Right. And that's the
I agree
challenge.
with
But
Aaron about understanding why we're doing this for security reasons.
we understand that's a challenge, but also be sure to reply from the city email, like Aaron said, forward to your personal. That was, I asked that question to the city attorney, and he said, we'd rather you not forward it to your city email because you might be inclined to your personal email, because you might be inclined to reply.
So I had two comments, and one was the lack of the surprise factor. If they were going to do this and they'd done it for other committees, they could have given us a little bit of advance notice and actually a hard deadline in any kind of communications to us. And number two, I'm a little concerned about tying anything back to my home one, because they always send out these other emails about all the spam and the as far as I can tell, I get these random emails from somebody at Brisbane about hacking and phishing, and I don't want that coming back to my my regular one.
Well, Albert sends out warnings, and at this point, your personal email has been listed as your email, and that's why it's going to that. And I appreciate what he sends.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not on the email system, but you're included in the email system. Like mine got screwed up for a while because somebody tried to change my name to 2 L's. But so once we're all on the new system where we're using the city email address as our email address for any OSEC business, I don't think you'll get that to your personal email address anymore, Shauna.
I'm just concerned that it's like, why, if I think there are more people trying to hack a government email than there are.
You're just getting those emails because he sends them out to everybody who is associated with the city, and you are associated with the city, and so it comes to your personal email. It won't come to your personal email anymore once you start using the city email for city business. Okay. And so it's really a courtesy that you've been getting these notices, even though they're not relevant. No one's trying to hack into you personally. Okay.
And I will also say that we do have kind of advanced spam and security measures in place. So we all get those emails as well. And very rarely have I actually personally ever received anything that was, you know, in those messages that Albert has sent out about, you know, oh, we've got this thing that somebody saw, or, you know, it's not something that I think you should be particularly concerned about suddenly, like getting a flood of new spam or something like that. I don't think that should be a particular concern.
It is good because you get alerted to things that are going around for everybody. So I've appreciated Albert's emails on that. I just don't freak out about it.
Yeah.
Did Aaron have something else to add or not?
No, Michelle basically covered it.
Okay, cool. Right. I think
Oh,
you have something else, Michelle?
No, I'm lowering my hand. Sorry.
Okay.
Am I muted? Am I lowered? Am I what? You know.
So I guess the, you know, bottom line is if you haven't gotten set up yet, please contact Ingrid, get yourself set up. Unfortunately, that's not something Karen and I are able to help you with. So please contact them. And, you know, maybe once you're set up, send me an email from your city email so that I know that you've gotten set up. And, you know, once we've started to get critical mass, we will, you know, try to figure out what an appropriate cutover date is.
Okay, that sounds
Will there
fair.
be an OSEC group email so we don't have to type everybody's email addresses?
You know, I'm not sure. There is one, but the way it is set up right now, only certain people are able to send to it. So like when I send out, you know, emails to the committee for meeting notices or whatnot, I'm sending to the committee just as one body. But if you try to reply to that, it does not allow you to reply to the entire body. And I think that's set up that way intentionally so that there aren't accidental Brown Act violations. I don't know if this email change will address that in any way or not. I would tend to think probably not, but Jason, did I see a hand?
Yeah, I think, let's go. It's all good.
All right. So moving on with staff updates. Just kind of update on some of our projects. We have the City Hall heat pump water heater and our EV projects at the 3 different city sites, which have just recently submitted permits. So we are starting to get moving on that. To the EV project, the existing EV charger, which Glenn noted earlier, has been down for a couple of months. We finally got a quote from ChargePoint just maybe Monday or Tuesday, just in the last few days, to replace a part. Apparently that part has been back ordered, and so we're finally just able to get accurate pricing on that. I don't know what the time frame for actually getting the repair is, but we've at least gotten a quote and sent them all of the information to move that forward, you know, same day. So stuff is happening as slowly as we might like. So there will be a repair of this existing station. It is, you know, not a very high cost for this part repair. It seems advantageous for us to go ahead and do that and hopefully keep it going for a while, but that doesn't mean we may not have to consider a larger investment in replacement at some future point down the road. Did you have a question on that, Glenn?
Oh, I was just going to ask how much it was going to cost.
Less than $1,000.
No, that's not too bad.
It's $750 or something. Yeah.
And that includes labor.
Orders of magnitude smaller than a replacement, probably. So.
And does that include the labor for installation?
Yes. So I also wanted to share, and I think I maybe shared this with the CAP subcommittee, our Public Works Department recently submitted a grant for utility AMI infrastructure, automated meter infrastructure for the water system. And as part of this grant, they were needed to calculate a reduction in total water demand and estimated energy savings. So they brought me in to help them calculate that. and came up with an estimated 9.45% reduction in our total water demand and over 20,000 kilowatt hour annual energy savings, largely from savings from pumping, but also some savings from eliminating the driving of doing that automated, doing that meter reading every other month. So I thought that was pretty cool. Hopefully we'll get that grant and be able to move that forward. And then my last couple of updates relate to our to the Resource Conservation District. Some of you probably know that I sit on the board of the San Mateo Resource Conservation District, and at our board meeting, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, I was really excited to see that there was a project on our agenda to approve a contract for the San Bruno Mountain Owl and Buckeye Canyons Habitat Enhancement Project. Which is it's actually a project funded through the PG&E mitigation, but they'll be doing some habitat enhancement on, I think it was 47 acres, doing invasives removal, reducing encroachment of woody scrub species into grassland habitats, planting of native grasslands, nectar species, etc. So I was pretty excited to see that. And then this is not really in the Brisbane area, but they did also mention they are doing a call for volunteers for the First Flush program, which is an annual citizen science program to measure water quality during the first significant rain of the season. So stormwater quality, that first big rain of the season tends to be the worst pollution of the year. So they're measuring that in the outfalls and creeks, primarily from Pacifica through Half Moon Bay. And they have a training Wednesday, September 14th. If anybody is interested, or if you know of anybody who's interested in getting involved and doing a little citizen science water quality measuring. I did it a few years ago. It was actually pretty fun. Out there in your galoshes in the rain, collecting samples on the beach. So good time. I think that does it for me. I think everything else is subcommittee update. Yeah, Glenn?
I had a question, and this may not be something you can answer right now because it isn't agendized, but I was just wondering what happened to the street tree watering program that we used to have, where the water when the pipes were flushed, the water was collected and was used to water street trees, which I think are in quite a bit of trouble because it's been so dry. And I was just wondering is it possible for you to say anything about that?
I've been talking with the maintenance team leader, and he is trying to get that set up. I don't think they've started yet. He was focused on some trees at the marina. I think we talked about it before, and I said, if you have particular trees, let me know.
Everything is dried out. It all needs water. So
I don't think we did everything before. We kind of did some more, maybe the more mature ones, particular ones at the park and some in town, but I know we didn't do everything. There's some funds, but okay. We don't have funds to do everything.
Anything is better than nothing. Okay.
It seems like last time they focused on the street trees on San Bruno Avenue. But we really need to focus on all of the street trees that are city owned. They are suffering badly right now. And I guess we were paying Davy Tree to do it before, but we really need to do it and not wait until they're dead. So how can we get this?
Promote more of water bags too?
Well, water bags aren't going to help. They're too small to help mature trees. Some of these street trees are 30, 40 years old now. They were planted during the early 80s when we had that street tree project. And a water bag is not enough. That's like pouring a gallon of water or 2 or 3 gallons of water on a tree that needs more like 20 gallons of water, deep watering. So I don't know what we can do to reinitiate the tree watering. And I know it's hard. We don't really have the facilities to collect the water from the chloraminate purging. But Davy Tree, I guess, had been coming with water trucks or something. Because I don't think we ever captured the water from our purging, have we?
No, they were
Oh.
when you came, but they're not capturing all of it. But they're using
No.
that water to fill their water truck. Yeah.
Okay. Well, is there any way we can reinitiate that, Karen?
Yeah, I just talked to the maintenance team leader about that. It's on list and we had a check-in and he said he was going to get it started again.
Okay, sooner is better because we should have been doing it all summer. I mean, the trees look really bad. It's one of the reasons the Fissifolia that broke, it overflowered because it's in distress from the drought. Half of it broke off because it was overflowering. So I'm just really concerned about that. We did so well before, not losing our, even those the trees around the pool are dying. I know that we're going to lose a lot of mature trees in the canopy if we don't start the deep watering again as soon as possible. It's really a priority.
Any other staff updates before we move on?
I was done with mine.
Well, then I guess maybe we should move to the subcommittee reports. Start with the Climate Action Plan Committee. Any of the members care to chat?
I think the big update we've already talked about, which is the letter where we're going to ask council to encourage the Biden administration to make that climate emergency declaration. We also, was it this period we talked about the climate action plan goals?
Talked about reach codes, I think.
That's right.
And we love reach codes.
We talked about reach codes and we scheduled another meeting to keep talking about reach codes.
And I'm sorry, Adrian, when is that next meeting?
Ooh, one moment. Let me see. I want to say another 2 weeks. September 13th, Tuesday, September 13th, we will meet again and keep talking about reach codes. They did send some, I did reach out to Blake from PCE who had come last month to present, and Farhad from TRC asking some questions about cost effectiveness in light of the Inflation Reduction Act, if they are planning to revise any of their studies or anything like that. I have yet to hear back, but I just emailed them last week. So if I don't hear anything relatively soon, I'll follow up. And then I also have asked our planning staff about if they could provide any kind of permit data for us. I thought it was really helpful that in some of the San Mateo slides that Blake shared, they had a sense of how many projects in their city were affected, historically, of course, but, an average number of projects per year. So I asked Jeremiah if he was able to get any of that similar kind of data for us. So we'll keep looking into that as well. And I'm hoping that we'll have those responses before our next subcommittee meeting.
Sounds good. Karen?
I texted the maintenance team leader who is not on duty, and he said Davey is starting on Tuesday.
Hey.
Hey. Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next is events. Anybody from the events committee meet?
Hello. So, what are y'all doing on October 1st?
Yeah.
We could really use some help at the booth. And thanks to Adrian and our brainstorming, we have a really engaging project for the kids. And by the way, Adrian, I have access to a used spinnaker to make little sails. We're going to do little boats. Do you have the sample to show, Adrian? Yeah.
I did this with my 2-year-old. He wanted to put some Avengers stickers. I don't know if you can actually tell what that is, but yeah, we made some little boats together. It's really fast. He was super stoked about it. We went and sailed them in our bathroom sink for a couple of minutes. They move quite easily. So I think we'll have good fun with that.
Yeah, and it also is an educational thing because we're recycling materials and talking about, the power of the wind. So it'll be a fun project. We have a lot of serious stuff at Day in the Park too. Teresa from South San Francisco Scavengers will be joining us in the morning, and we'll what else are we having, Adrian? I'm sorry, I'm having a brain phase.
Well, we've got the Trash to Treasure Challenge People's Choice Contest.
Yes.
So we'll have that. And then we also, October 1st happens to be the day that the disposable foodware ordinance goes into effect. So I want to have some materials about that too, just so that folks in town can start to get used to asking for your utensils if you need them and all of that. And we can, really improve the awareness of that as it goes into the enforcement phase.
Yeah. And I also reached out and talked to Ricardo, and it looks like we're going to have, hopefully, we'll have the OSEC booth next to the Mountain Watch booth. And then we'll also have a kind of a shelter that will be our recycled arts and crafts contest gallery, display gallery. So hopefully. And so it should be fun, and we really could use people coming by and doing an hour's worth of duty, at the booth. If you feel like it, it'd be great. I love it. Glenn has certainly done that in the past. Is that a yes? I'm going to do that, Glenn?
Well, in the past, yes, I will do it. But in the past, we've had a sign-up sheet.
Yep.
And maybe that's the way to be sure that it's, that it's covered.
Okay.
Yeah, I can circulate that. I think we've usually tried to have at least 2 shifts so that no one has to be there the full day. It can be quite long if you have to be there from set up at 9-something a.m. until after we tear down at 3. It's a pretty long day. So hopefully we can have folks, volunteer for maybe 2-hour slots or something along that line.
2 hours sounds right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be there all day, by all means, you're welcome to.
Well, so I'll be sharing my time with Mountain Watch and OSEC and wandering around and getting a hot dog or whatever. So
my question was, so they've got these cork boats. Are we putting out a note? Are we collecting corks from all the people who drink a lot of wine? And
yes,
and
please.
There's a cork bucket that, are we going to put that in some sort of little sign saying, bring all your corks to X place?
Good idea.
Well, do you
We already have a pretty sizable collection, and I am checking on what we already have and checking with Teresa on some of the other materials, but we will put out a call for materials if it looks like we don't have enough. I think honestly, the corks are the ones I'm probably least concerned with, but if you have like bamboo skewers, that you would use for kebabs, or rubber bands in particular, I think are something that we will need more of. And then the sails that I use, this is actually made from the bubble wrap shipping containers, the little packing envelopes. In the picture, I think they're made with little foam craft stuff that we thought was maybe not the best for use for OSEC project. So we were trying to come up with things that would be waste materials that we could reuse, and thought it was a nice pairing with our Trash to Treasure challenge.
Yeah, I actually have a whole from a sailboat that we can use. So we have actually sailboat material to use on our sailboats.
Will we be able to poke through that easily with the bamboo skewers?
No, we'll have a punch to do that.
I do have some bamboo skewers. I just bought some from Grocery Outlet.
Oh, good. Okay. I think it's going to be really a fun little activity, and Adrian's bringing a little tub for us to put water in so the kids can test their boats and that kind of thing. But I mean, this is just a little activity for the kids. We're also going to have, all this incredible material to pass out, and to talk to people. So please sign up for a shift. It's fun if everybody comes and does it. And, we want to talk about the different things we're doing, like the invasive species ordinance, the dark skies ordinance, the, tree committee, or tree advisory group, and all of that. So we really want people to know what we do. And I think it's exciting. And Day in the Park is always fun. It's always fun. So
did you have something to say, Erin?
I was going to volunteer my corks, but I will instead volunteer my dozens of rubber bands. I don't throw those away. They're too valuable.
We may be able to use some additional corks, like from a few people, but I don't think we want to put a big call out to the whole community. I think we're gonna have way more than we need.
I can't imagine why.
I tried to get Jason to get the rubber bands off the broccoli at the food bank, but he wouldn't do it. Damn it! But those wide blue rubber bands are perfect. So
yeah, go eat some asparagus.
And then after that, I guess our next event will be, we have, just remind people that we have coastal cleanup on before Day in the Park. We have coastal cleanup on the 17th of September. It's really important to participate. I'm going to have a tough time because I'm triple booked that day. But I assume we're doing the lagoon again?
No.
Adrian?
We are doing the marina. The waterfront. We had a request from our marina staff. They have seen a huge uptick in trash around the shared use parking lot, especially the north end near the public fishing pier. So they requested that we locate our event there, and we thought that was a good idea. It also is much easier for parking than where we were, and we were just at the lagoon last year. So we thought we'd go ahead and try to help them out over there. And yeah.
Are you going to enlist your colleague to help you with a really cool flyer for that on his lunch hour?
I think I have it shared under calendar items, so you'll see it later.
All right.
Already done. Yes, it'll be up here in a minute.
All right.
Okay.
Well, then next one up is education and outreach. Saw something about the gardening.
Yeah, the library display has been updated. Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah, I should have put some pictures of that in the slides as well. So I forgot. I think they were out on social media. Caroline and Matt went up with me to switch out the display. They had some other business to do at the library, so it worked out. And the display has been updated. And Glenn, you had asked about signage to let folks know that it was OSEC. And when I was up there for the Trash to Treasure workshop, I talked with the library staff about having one of those display. They have the standard displays all across the library. If we would be able to just use one of those. So she was gonna try to get the template for, so we could just print an OSEC one to use for that. I haven't heard back yet, but sounded like, they seemed very open to that.
I saw the display when we were there and it looked good, besides the not having OSEC thing on it.
They did report that the Dark Skies display was very popular and had gotten a lot of attention in the few months that it was up. A lot of those books that had been part of that display were checked out, so they kept replacing them with other, similar themed books. And they already had a second display right behind it for gardening. So I know there's no shortage of gardening books that they can, pop in if need be.
Cool. That sounds like a great report. And I guess there are open space plan update.
Yeah, Karen, how are we doing, Karen, with being able to present to the council in September?
I'm working on it.
Okay, I'd love for us to be able to do that and get on their September.
It's
agenda.
been almost a year. Sorry.
I know, we talked about this. Please don't.
Okay.
I would just say I did hear in a different conversation today, council hasn't had a meeting in a couple of months, and there's a bit of a log jam from the sounds of it of items that need to go to council. So, there might be some urgent things that need to be done at council in September that may.
Well, they met in July, and then they had their normal August off. So
They only.
I think I could get on. I'm working on getting it ready.
Thank you, Karen. Great.
Thank
That
you.
would be awesome. Crocker Trail Frog Habitat, we are moving forward on.
Yeah, we
Mary,
met.
do you want
We
to
met
talk about
last. Yeah, we met. We just recently met the subcommittee, and we have, thanks to Karen, we have an expert that will be meeting us at the habitat on September the 12th to take a look at the habitat and offer some suggestions and what this consultant might be able to offer us. So there is budget money available for this, and we're all looking forward to meeting this person on the 12th. So we're moving full steam ahead, which is great. So thank you.
Do we know who the consultant is?
Thanks to Adrian.
Oh, Adrian is the one who got us the consultant. Thank you, Adrian.
It is staff from the Resource Conservation District.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I have a little additional bit of information. We had our employee picnic today, and we walked back along the Crocker Trail, and we found a volunteer doing work.
Oh, you did.
Oh, who
found
is it?
No surprise, Paul Buscal.
Oh,
Of course.
yeah.
Thank God. Okay.
Oh, it's been manicured, and we were trying to figure out who did it. So I text Michelle and Sean. I'm like, hey, have you guys been out there cleaning up? Because it looks pretty good. And they go, no, not me. And so that's great.
So
Karen?
further, I took it upon myself to invite him on the 12th.
Oh,
Good. I was
great.
just going to ask you, can we invite Paul to join us on the 12th? That's excellent.
Well, I mean,
Thank
I
you.
could see him playing a big part in a volunteer thing, because he was educating the 7 employees that walked by about what he was doing and what plants were, and it seemed like he's great at that.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
He is great at
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have a chance to take a walk by there, please do so, because it's looking pretty good.
Great.
He mentioned the video, and I let him know that we had sent that to the Resource Conservation District. He was just, right in line with you guys.
Okay.
All right. Moving forward, we got the invasive species ordinance.
Our big
Anything-
achievement is that we have a meeting date. We are
Yay.
meeting on the 9th of September, which is a Friday. So I guess we're going to be meeting without you, Karen, for the first meeting.
Yeah,
'Cause-
I did that one.
yeah. But we thought it would be okay if we got together and kind of got oriented and read through all the stuff and, kind of got the lay of the land a little bit. So probably after the first meeting, we'll want to arrange a meeting with you, which won't be on a Friday afternoon, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can do some Friday afternoons. I can't do the 9th.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. All right.
Well, anything further, or shall I move on to dark skies?
I would move on to dark.
All right. Anybody to report from dark skies?
Adrian.
Well, my report was going to be, we need to schedule a meeting because I have heard back from planning and I hadn't gotten a chance to reach out to ask for one. So I had been hoping that we were going to just be able to find a date here. But since Barbara is not here, I guess we will have to do the doodle poll dance and try to find a meeting date.
Okay.
Sounds exciting.
That's that.
All right.
I just want to say that after that 2-hour power outage we had, I sat outside and watched the power outage. It was so beautiful. And then when the lights came back on at 11:10, and it just made me realize how desperately we need this. There was so much excess light that didn't need to be illuminating trees on Kings Road and didn't need to be illuminating all kinds of stuff. And I just want to say that we really need this. We really need this. Sooner is better.
Mhm.
Okay, onward.
You're here. And the tree issues subcommittee certainly met. And well, I'm working on a brochure that we can have about trees and street trees and responsibilities that the city has for the booth at the open at Day in the Park.
And I sent the information from we also got the we have the funding to do a tree canopy assessment. So we're looking at producing an RFP, and I sent some sample RFPs to the group to look at and work through, and we're moving forward with this. We think it's really important, and Karen's a mover and a shaker on this with us. So we're doing it. It's good.
I don't know how much I have a couple of questions for the brochure that I'm working on. Should I just address those with you, Karen, on the side, or have a few other questions?
I would say that's the committee's pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah. Send
And,
it to the committee and we'll weigh
Okay.
in.
Oh, no, I meant to discuss, you meant, can I
Yeah.
ask you now or should I ask you separately?
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say, yeah, I would think that maybe separately would be a good time.
Okay.
And do I and when do I have to get that done by, or when, as soon as I can, right? Need a first draft.
So are we, I guess we're just printing it on normal paper. I would say if it.
Yeah.
How soon are we? If it's like a week before, we can. print
Okay.
something.
I should have something for you by this weekend.
Oh, great. Okay.
Send it to the whole committee so we can all review it. That would be
Okay.
great.
The tree group, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, sounds good. The Sierra Point Park Planning is Evil, and she's not here right now, so I guess
I just want to send liaisons to the council now that we've selected a new chair and vice chair. That should now be Shauna and Aaron.
Thank you. I did not update that last month. I apologize. I'll get that. updated.
No worries.
I'd like to hear from the inactive subcommittees.
No, you don't, Jason.
No, I don't. I withdraw. I withdraw.
Did we skip the Baylands subcommittee or did I miss
We
that?
did.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry about that.
But I don't think there's been any activity, has there?
There has
Mary?
not been, the meetings keep getting canceled, so
Well, you'll let us know when there's
I will do,
activity.
yeah, I will do so.
Okay.
All right.
Calendar items. Woohoo.
I think we've already talked about most of this. So maybe I will just go ahead and show you that.
Cute.
Oh.
Before we go, there's one thing I wanted to ask about the last one.
Sure.
The South San Francisco scavenger diversion report is on our meeting for next week. Could someone pre-ask the question we had from last year, I believe there was some number of pounds of garbage per residential home that we just could not believe the number. It was so high.
Yeah.
Oh, can we pre-ask her that so she can double check it before she tells us this year, or, fills in the information so that that's believable?
I will talk with her about that. I will confess, I just last minute, they switched the order of October and November because I was realizing we had dark skies in there, and I don't think we're going to be ready still next month. So I was going to hope to ask Teresa if she could do an earlier report, and I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, or if there will be, an opening that we will fill with something else.
And Adrian, can you put January 2023 on this? I mean, like roll it down, because can we? I had a note that we're going to reach out to Mountain Watch to try to determine a planting day. So can we still do that? That was under events, and I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, there's a lot going on now in this next month. I'm like not thinking about January quite yet. I will get there.
I'm thinking we might have the planting day in December, so that's why I'm concerned. So let's maybe.
I thought we talked about December is really hard for most people.
I know, it's just
hard to get. It's hard to get people's attention. I think that's why we have generally moved it to January.
Oh, got a hand up here. I've had mine up. Yeah.
Sorry about that, Jason. I didn't notice. It kind of blends in with your background.
It's
can you get a different colored hand?
I picked a white hand, and I'm sorry, it's out of fashion. So with the calendar for September, could we, since that's coming up, that's one of the items is the letters to folks with the lower acres. Could we see a copy of the letter that's going to go out? We put that on the agenda that we could look at that or have that circulated.
Oh yeah.
If I'm asking in August that we could see it before the next meeting to see the text of that, because we discussed it a little bit last year.
I'm not sure what you mean when you say the lower acres.
We sent out a letter to people, not the lower acres, but the acres that aren't purchased by the city yet.
Within the priority preservation area.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That letter. I'd like to see that.
I'm going to remind staff that sends that letter and see if they are on top of that.
Yes. And if we could see what it is they're sending, the text, because Michelle had proposed some stuff last year, and I remember that vividly, and we could just see a copy of the generic letter that's going out. That would be great. That could be circulated to us on this committee. That'd be great.
That'd be great. Glenn has her hand up.
Just one quick comment on planning day. The longer range weather forecasts that I've seen say that El Nino is likely to continue through fall. We're likely to have a dry fall. So I definitely don't think we should, a planning day in December is a good idea.
Okay. I just don't want us to miss it.
Give up, Michelle.
No, I want us to do it. But January's fine if it's raining. I can't predict the weather. That's not my job. I just want to make sure that we're prepared and that we have a site and that Mountain Watch has plants that we can plant or that we can do to plant. And that takes planning and growing the plants. So, okay. This looks good. I just also want to say a coastal cleanup poster is awesome, but I also want to say that I just want to thank Adrian and Rachel and we really worked hard to set up and Lisa Witten, and we worked hard to set up a really good Trash to Treasures workshop. I think people weren't quite into it yet, but I certainly enjoyed it. And so a lot of the effort was, we had some good discussions about how to move forward with it. Teresa came and everything. and it was really good. I wish we'd had more public involvement, and we can hopefully have that next year and start earlier so people feel more inclined to, really work towards that. But it was great. And the library facility was absolutely beautiful. Oh my God, it was great.
How
So I
many
just wanted to say that.
submissions did we get? How many submissions?
I don't know how many submissions we have, but we had about, I'd say overall 8 to 10 attendees that came and went during the thing, including some kids who just had a blast. So I just really appreciated it. It was really good. So
I'm
thank you,
not
Adrian.
aware
Thank
of-
you, Rachel.
I'm not aware of any submissions yet, but the deadline is September 9th. So hopefully
So-
folks are getting their projects finished up and submitted.
If there aren't many, maybe we should reconsider. It's not a project that grabs me, and I don't know how, if we're not getting anything, maybe we should listen to the lack of response.
Well, the deadline is not here yet, so I don't think we should take anything by the fact that we haven't received anything, a couple of weeks before the deadline. Most of the prior year submissions did come like
At the last minute.
people wait until the last minute to submit.
As a
will
matter of fact,
admit
last
that
year we
I am-
extended the deadline.
Well, I'm sitting on a stash of, plastic utensils that I'm never going to use and are like perfect fodder for an art project. And I'm sitting on a bunch of pens, like the plastic pen casings that, the refills don't fit. And it's just fodder for an art project. So hopefully there are people in this community that will reach out to me for those things, because I'm not going to find time to make something out of them. But hopefully there are others who just like, oh yeah, I do have a stash of rubber bands in the drawer. Let me make a voodoo doll or whatever.
Have you posted that on the Facebook page that you have these supplies?
I don't use the Facebooks.
Oh, wow.
So I'm hoping, part of my hope is that as we move forward into the next year and the next year, I mean, the first year was very successful because we had the pandemic and people had time to do stuff, they're kind of stuck at home. But I'm hoping that as we go on that maybe we can have more, frequent craft classes, recycle, trash to treasures, that kind of thing, is maybe more as a recreation program. So more to come. Let's brainstorm more ideas about how to get people involved in doing both creative things, which really feeds the soul, and getting rid of finding good homes for reusing items. It's an ongoing conversation, Jason, and I hear what you said. I hear what you said.
To me, it's trash to trash, but whatever.
Well, it's so funny because today I was thinking about, well, maybe you should enter some dish that you make based on using food that didn't get used at the food bank, because that is a really high form of recycling or reusing or not letting it go into the trash stream. I just was reading all of, huh?
Sharon, member matters, is that next? But
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
there. Let's go
Good.
on.
Yes,
Done.
we
What's
can,
up with that?
let's go down to the, we were all gonna submit a new picture. I suppose we should probably, I'll try and get that
No one
done.
did. Send it to me with your new email account.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be the test. Yes.
Oh, that'll be harder. How do I get a photo to that email account?
Send it to yourself. That'll be a good test. Actually, if you're using it on your phone, it's quite easy. But
Okay.
any
All right.
committee matters?
Any chair and member matters? Nope. Our next meeting is on September 28th at 6:30 p.m. And I move to adjourn this very fruitful meeting.
Second.
Thank you all so much.
Second.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Yay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Night,
you.
everybody.
Bye.